Welcome to another episode of 𝙩𝙧𝙧𝙚𝙤 Talks. Today's subject is why telepathy has become a trend. By the way, if you follow 𝙩𝙧, you might know that she recently did a TEDx speak, but now it's finally available for you to watch. So remember to watch it whenever you have time. And now, here is 𝙩𝙧𝙧𝙚.
Today's topic is going to be why telepathy has become a trend. And actually, telepathy was founded in 1882 by a guy called Frederick Myers. And the intelligence services of the US used telepathy during warfare to make sure that the enemies couldn't pick up on signals. They used Morse codes back then, and to make sure to deliver messages to other soldiers, they did it via telepathy or through telepathy. So we know that telepathy is an old method, but it's still pretty new here in the Western world. My journey began, I was born in 1979, and my journey began by being a light worker and an empath. And as a child, I always sensed what the animals were telling me. I could hear voices in my head, and I thought that I was getting out of my mind or losing my mind. I also predicted whenever people were sick or there was infidelity in relationships, or if a girl suffered from eating disorder, if a husband was abusive to his wife. And I was only at the age of 4 when all this started, and I saw myself as being very different to many of my classmates in school. And it was pretty lonely because I never talked about these abilities of being able to communicate telepathically. And when I became 19 years old, I started an education at a clairvoyant school. And my teacher told me, "Do you know that you are an animal communicator?" And I said, "No, I don't." I had shut down my abilities for many years during my teen years because I wanted just to be a normal teenager. And she told me I was going to be very well known as an animal communicator. And I asked her, "How am I going to do that?" And she said, "I have actually no idea, because you're the one who's going to invent it in Scandinavia. You're going to invent a method that's going to work." And I was pretty curious about that. So during my clairvoyant education, I practiced on 60 people. And I practiced on 40 animals as well. I took everything in: birds, cats, dogs, horses. And very quickly, it started to develop. And people got to know my name, even though I didn't know them. I was just rehearsing, I guess. And then I started to make a living out of it. I got a son, and it was too difficult for me to get back to my regular job. So I thought to myself, after becoming a therapist as well and a business coach, well, I might as well just do it full time. And I did that. And I've seen over these 24 years now that has passed a huge development in telepathy. In the beginning, where I started to teach students in my telepathical methods, I saw that I was a secret. They had to snuck me in the stables after 7 o'clock, where everybody had left the stables. They were pretty embarrassed to use my services. Their children was being bullied at school because they attended my telepathy classes. So some of these parents, co-parents in school, when they figured out that these parents were attending my classes, they told their children, and the children bullied their children. On this journey, I have fought against the veterinarians, which I don't understand. I do get that they don't understand my work and they don't understand my methods. And I think that many of these veterinarians are very proud of their education, as they should be, because it's a very long education. And I think they might fear that I would have given the animals diagnoses and interfered with their job or their professionalism, which I've never done. But I think if we could build bridges, I've tried my best to build bridges, and I have succeeded with that as well. It would be easier to help an animal and an animal owner to figure out the cause and the effect of a symptom this animal have faster, because they could take the blood samples or do the x-rays, and an animal communicator would be able to figure out where the cause of the problem actually are. Could that be found in the connection between an animal owner and the animal? Could it be the animal owner transferring their physical symptoms to the animal? Could it be bad riding or stress? There could be so many other explanations for a health issue I find very relevant, and I will still fight for it. On this path, I've accomplished to get a priest temporarily fired because he invited me to speak in her church, and we never thought that it would become a media press drama or a circus. And I saw again that we have these institutions in the world that are based on power and money, and they're very, very strategically against anything that could move people's convictions of how it's supposed to be. So we have one way of doing it in the churches here in Scandinavia, where I am, and we should never ever question the way we do it, because then the churches can't survive. That was pretty interesting as well. So another group of people that has been against telepathy throughout the last 24 years have been the national team trainers. I don't know why they are refusing telepathy to exist, because I do know that many of the elite riders I help, they know that their animals or horses have an opinion of their own, and they know that to connect with a horse and do things simultaneously requires a non-verbal connection between the horse and the rider. And some of these problems that will occur if the communication is gone sideways will be solved by using telepathy or animal communication. And then I was able to help many national team riders with problems their trainers wasn't able to help them with. And I might think that was hard on the ego for them. And like with the veterinarians, I find that a bit sad, because doing a collab together would improve the team, the rider, and the horse's results in any competitions. And I'm still fighting for that as well. And I find it very interesting that regardless of this skeptical resilience towards telepathy, yet the riders and the animal owners are increasing their interest in telepathy. And I've seen this for almost 24 years now, that animals owners are more and more interested in telepathy. I think that when it comes to living in a society where we are super stressed and we have so many tablets, cell phones, information flow that comes in our direction, we get super stressed. And this is the reason why people connect better with animals than they do with human beings. This is the reason why I think COVID did good for most of us, because it forced us to go out in nature and stay home and be more relaxed. And I think many people are still not suffering, but living in the consequences of COVID, so they do not want to go back to the life they had before. It's very interesting that many people got a dog during COVID because they got lonely, because they wanted their children to have a best friend, something that could fill the room with love. And the funny part is, all these children are born with animal communication in their blood. All these children are telling their parents, my dog said, or I think the bird said, or Mom, do you know the horse told me that? And 24 years ago, the parents might shut these abilities down, saying the animals can't talk. But because this has become a new thing and it's trending more and more, thank God the parents are being very supportive of their children when they say their animals are able to communicate. And I'm very proud to be just a tiny piece to that development. I have so many ambassadors working with me in my team, helping me as well on social media, and thank you to all of you. And it's pretty funny because many of these ambassadors only in the age of 20. And remember, I started 24 years ago. And I remember, I think it was 15 years ago, I came out with a book that said animals have a personality profile. And with those personality profiles come a behavior. And when it's not being understood, there will occur behavioral issues. So we interpret that it's the animal who has the problem. And I remember many of these people that were very resilient towards telepathy in my work told me, you cannot humanize an animal. You are a crazy woman. And I thought to myself, oh, I think it's you who are crazy and don't know much of your animals because they are just as individual as we as human beings are. But now 24 years later, when I work with all these ambassadors who were born into a world where telepathy was an upcoming thing, they don't know a world where telepathy didn't exist. They do not know of a world where personality profiles wasn't a thing. So they are telling me, oh, do you know I have a horse who's the prince? And many of them don't even know that I was the one who invented these terms. And I always laugh inside and I get very, very emotional and happy because then I know I've succeeded with my information flow and what I wanted with telepathy, which is the connection. I've helped several of animal owners, especially in the equine industry, with riders who wanted to compete better, obtain better results, or figure out if it was in pain or not. And throughout the years, I've seen the development when they're using my services. So to begin with, they wanted telepathical help when it came to health issues or just before they had to put down their animals. And now I see that the people who want my services or the use of telepathy just want to know what the horse is thinking. And that's a huge development. And that's what interests me the most with telepathy, because I think the reason why telepathy is trending so much is because by using telepathy, you get a confirmation of your own intuition. And I think all human beings are maybe subconsciously trying to become better persons. And becoming that is being true to yourself and be more authentic. And if you have to be in alignment with what you believe in, set boundaries, provide self-care, you have to follow your intuition. And that's what the animals do for all human beings. They help you to become more intuitive. This is the reason why telepathy has become a trend.